So, hello everyone from Ravensburger. This is Dominic. I'm the product manager of Gravitrex, and I will introduce you Gravitrex, and I will give you a quick overview over the product. So, we will first speak about the principle, what Gravitrex is all about, and then I will explain the range. We will start with take a look into the trailer where you see the product in action. So the three USPs from Gravitrex are the infinite creativity, open-ended design, and fast-paced fun. Infinite creativity stands for the huge possibilities you have with the product, and while building with the product, you can do whatever you like within the system and be creative, and you nearly have no borders while building with the system. And the open-ended design stands for all the expansions you have with the product and that you can expand while building unless you have parts endlessly. And the fast-paced fun stands for the action stones that make the system even more special than it is on its own. Some key facts about Gravitrex is that it has a futuristic design which is really appealing for the consumer, and the system thought about Gravitrex is makes it unique because you have two different kind of extensions. The first are the ones that you can build bigger and more complex tracks, and the other expansions are the action stones, and that they bring new energy and the action into the track. So if we start and look at the range that Gravitrex offers, we have the main article, and this is the starter set. This is the one you start with. You always need the starter set for using the expansions and the action stones. And then we have the expansions that these expansions are designed to offer a bigger play experience. So this is tracks and building. And then we have currently 4 action stones: the hammer, the magnetic cannon, the looping, and the catapult. And I will just jump into the starter set and explain the different parts. As you can see here, we have the track that is also on the front of the box. This is a typical image that you, if someone asks you how big are the tracks that I can build with the starter set, this track is built out of the parts of the starter set, and it gives you a really good look on how big the track is that you can build with this set. What's inside the set? There are these 4 base plates that you can connect together like a puzzle, and you can build a strip, you can build an L, you can build a square. You're quite flexible with the possibilities you can do with this. Then we have 3 different rails included. These rails are, we normally say, the 1, the 2, and the 3 rail, or the short, the middle, and the long. And these rails are designed to connect the stones together, and they have just one limitation, and this is what you can see underneath the rails. With the short rail, you can connect stones with a height difference of 2 big height stones and 1/2, and with the other 2 rails, you have a limitation in height while building from 3 big stones and 1/2. Why do you have this limitation? Because the more higher you get, the longer gets the distance between the stones, and the stones and the rails are created that you can connect if they are on the same height level, and you can go until you reach a specific angle, and then they get too short, and this is why you have these limitations. What is also included, there are 3 silver marbles inside and 3 colored one, a green, a red, and a blue one. And then you have 40 of the big building blocks and 12 of the short building blocks. Also included is a start, 21 curves. With the shape of this curve, you can build a lot of different curved scenarios. You can always turn the stone around and build different kind of curves, and we have 2 different angles. So with these 2 angles, you can build a lot of variety in curves. Then we have these basic tiles. We have 3 opened with the hole, that's the one on the bottom, and 1 without a hole, and therefore we have different inlays, but I will come later to these inlays to describe how they are used together with these basic tiles. Also included is a finish ladder. I will later go on where it's used. We have 3 junctions, 2 and 1, so you can connect 2 ways into 1 way, and then you have an additional green part that you can enter. It's the switch, and the switch is used to do exactly the opposite of the 2 and 1. You don't connect 2 ways into 1. You make the marbles go from 1 way into 2 different ways while splitting it while on the way. Then we have this 3 in 1. It's able to connect 3 different ways into 1. And this is also the stone where you will insert the finish ladder. It has special holes in it at the front where the ladder is connected. And we have action stones, the Gauss cannon inside the starter set, but I will explain the Gauss cannon or the magnetic cannon with all the other different action stones. There's also a vortex inside. It's called level 2 above here because all these stones are in connection with building on a different level. So you start building on the ground, and then you will reach another height, and then you will use these transparent plates that you can see on the right down corner, and therefore these stones are created. And at the beginning you have the vortex. Its ability is to connect 2 different ways where the marble can enter, and then it will turn into the vortex, and when it loses all the energy it will drop down, and therefore you have to build the vortex on these transparent plates you can see on the right side. And then we have 3 different inserts for the basic tiles, and the first one is the drop. It is inserted in the basic tile with a hole, and then you can also put it on a transparent plate, and there also the marble can enter from 1 way and drop down. And then for this, especially for this fact, you will need the middle green insert you see in here. It's called the catch. And the catch has the function that if a marble drops from the transparent plate through a vortex or the drop into the catch, and with the catch the marble can run further away on a level 1 under the transparent plate. And then you have also the splash. It's the 3rd insert for the basic tiles, and the splash is designed that you can insert 3 marbles into the splash, and you just place the marbles there, and after one marble drops from above into the middle of the splash, all three marbles start to roll the track. If you watch the trailer of Gravitrex, you can see it as a start point where the marble runs into the drop, falls down, and hits the splash, and that's where the action starts and the marble starts to run. Let's come to the action stones. We have 4 different action stones. We have the magnetic cannon, we have the looping, we have the catapult, and we have the hammer. And all of these stones have one thing together, that they use kind of physics laws, and while using these laws they bring the fun and the action into the system. And let me explain the different things that happen while you build with these action stones. And at first here you can see the principle of the magnetic cannon. In the white bridge over where the green insert is, there is a little magnet. It's a neodymium magnet, and the marbles are soaked onto the magnet and wait till one marble arrives. And what then happens is a pretty clear principle of physics. It's the impulse law. It means nothing else that the marbles on the left side are attracted through the magnet, and the marble that arrives on the right side also gets attracted when it hits the range of the magnet, and then it gets soaked really, really fast against the magnet, and the energy goes through the magnet, through the other marbles, and hits the red marble. And there the impulse from the blue marble is so strong that the magnetic field can't hold the red marble back, and then it gets shooted away. And this brings a lot of new energy into the system, and that makes the marble run again. And this is always what we are searching for if we play Gravitrex, that the marble never stops, and this is kind of the energy you need. Then you have the looping. The looping, here you can see how it's built together. It comes not built together into the packaging. You have to build it up on your own, but it's pretty simple because you only have to click the parts together and then you are finished. The looping uses also physics law. It's the centrifugal energy we are using in here. You need a lot of speed. With the marble, you enter the looping, and because of the speed and the weight of the marble and the energy that gets transported into the looping, you can overcome the gravity with your marble, and it hits the looping and runs through it. The hammer, here you also can see is how it is connected. You have to put the arms into the holder, then you have to click the marble inside and put it into the stone, and then you have to flip it up. And then there's energy which is stored into, because the big marble in the hammer wants to fall down because of gravity, and it gets placed, its energy, a little bit above the point where it could simply fall down. And then you only need a really small impulse that an incoming marble gives onto the green part of the hammer, and this little energy is enough to make the big marble in the hammer fall and put all the energy at the back of the marble that touched it. And so you can gain new energy, and it brings more fun into the system. The catapult is the most complex stone in Gravitrex because it's so much energy stored in the stone that it's really hard to predict how the energy gets extragated from the stone. And here you can see how you build it up. For the consumers, it's really important that you mention that it should be built up with the instruction inside, because we had a lot of situations where the consumers just unpacked it and then made some mistakes while unwrapping it. And this is something I would also give to the consumer if they buy one. Have to have it in mind that it should be built up like it is. And there are also 4 marbles inserted into the catapult, and this is not for looking. This is because of the weight of these marbles, because if you don't have them in there and you try to shoot a marble, the whole catapult will follow the marble and won't stay at its place. In the catapult you also have 10 rubbers inside, and the rubbers put into the stone, and therefore you also have to give to the customers that the different rubber bands you have in there are a little bit different. Each rubber band is a little bit different, so with the one rubber band, the catapult will perhaps shoot 3.5 stones far, and with another, perhaps it will shoot 4.5 because it's a little bit thicker, and through this it will be a little bit stronger. And this is something you have to give to the customers, that this is, especially this stone is a stone where you have to try to build it into your track and find a solution how to catch the marble right. So here we have the big expansion sets, the tracks set and the building set. The most important thing about these two is that they are designed to make the play experience bigger and to extend the room and parts you can build your tracks with. And tracks is designed to gain on height in the system and on length, and therefore there are included a lot of basic tiles and also rails, and the expansion building is designed for making the system a little bit more complex in itself. So you have more special stones in it, like drops, catches and switches, which you can use to make it a little bit more interesting inside the system. Last but not least, here you can see an overview of the whole range, the boxes. You see the starter, the 2 big expansions and the 4 small expansions, and down there you can see a track. This is also the track out of the TV commercial we have. Yeah, to summarize it all, I would say you have 7 top selling points about Gravitrex. The product has been developed to cater the target group. It has been developed together with the target group, and this was really special about it. If you play with the product, you get an educational value, because while you're playing, you are playfully experience gravity and physics. You have the free construction, you have the fast action with the action stone elements, endless creativity possibilities, and you can infinitely extend the system itself by buying new expansions. And therefore we think you have a great value for what you pay, especially if you look at the starter set. You have over 100 different parts and you can build up to over 100 different tracks with it. So you have a lot of possibilities. We are also really proud that this system and the product Gravitrex is an in-house production. We produce it ourselves. We don't get the parts out of China. We all do it with our own fabrics. For sure, it has a really futuristic look and design. It's modern, fresh, and it's really appealing for the target group. So thank you for listening and good sales.